Hi, and welcome back to Gavin's Sonex B. So, the next thing I'm going to do is do the rest of the oil pipes for the engine, and these are the oil pipes that use rubber pipe which has got a stainless steel braid around the outside and some AN style fittings are supplied with the Turbo Aero V kit to put on the ends of the oil pipes. Now I've never done this before, sort of braided stainless steel oil pipes with AN fittings on the end. So I had to look it up on the internet to kind of find out what was involved, and if I show you what it all looks like, maybe it'll make some sense. So here it is. So this, let's get some light on it. This is the stainless steel braided hose. You can see the rubber hose in the center and the stainless steel braid around the outside, and then this is the style of fitting that goes on the end. It's in two pieces. The red piece is separate and unscrews off a bit like that. If I can do it with one hand, which I think I can. There we go, it's almost off. So you've got this part which fits up the inside of the rubber tube, and this part which is used for securing it on. The thing you have to note with these ones is that you can see there's a thread on the inside, quite a light thread, but a thread nonetheless on the inside of the barrel of that part of the fitting. And the idea is that you insert that into the red piece. It's a left-hand thread in there, so you have to turn it anti-clockwise to get it in, and until it gets right down to the bottom ledge inside there, and then you can see it on the inside of that hole there. But the big problem is this is stainless steel braided hose, and as you can see, the stainless steel braid fuzzes out. A better example is this one, and it's almost impossible to get it in there. This is the AN4 fitting and hose. There's also one hose you've got to do, which is an AN6 hose and fittings. So how do you get that into there? Well, if you go on the internet, there's a lot of custom car people who can give you an idea of how to do this. Theoretically, what you're supposed to do is to buy the special hose guillotine, for want of a better description. It's a bit like a big pair of wire cutters, and it has very special shaped blades on it which go round the outside of the steel braiding and chop it off in one cut effectively. I've only got 6 connectors to put on, and to buy the tool was quite expensive, so I need to find a different solution. So I had another look online, and there's a number of YouTube videos where people have tackled the same problem, and the consensus is that the only way to do this is to basically take the end, bind it as tightly as you can with tape before you cut the end off, something that doesn't stretch, So bind it tightly with tape and then chop the end off with either a cutting disc in an angle grinder or your trusty Dremel. You then end up with an end that looks like that. Now it's still furred out enough to prevent it from going into the fitting. And if you can try using a screwdriver to poke the ends in round it, and it's horrible and it doesn't really work and it all goes a bit wrong. So looking further on the internet, there is in the United States a company that makes a special tool for doing it. And basically this tool clamps around this part and provides a gentle tapering, I don't know what you'd call it, funnel effectively, for the braid to go down, to squish it in and then enter through the front end of the fitting. They're called Cool Tools or something like that, I think. You can find them on the internet. But in America, I think a set is about $30 to $40. In France, 120 euros if you can find one. And I didn't want to spend that because I only got 6 ends to put on. So then I thought, hold on, I have a 3D printer. Why don't I design my own cool tool and print it out? And that's what I've done. And I'll show you the results. This was my prototype. It has a rectangular hole in the bottom end, which you can put that one in, and when you stick it in the vise and squidge it, it holds it still. And then there's a funnel to push your braided hose into and insert it. But once I'd made this, I suddenly thought, well, that's all very well, but once you've inserted the cable, the thing's locked onto the whole assembly and you can't get it off. Especially if you've done one on the other end of the cable. So that was a bit stupid. So I then went for version 2. This is another prototype. And so I made a split one, which works in exactly the same way. You pop that one in there, it sits in there, and then you pop that in there, stick it in the vise and squash it, and then you can see it's got a nice taper for the braid to go down and go in. But it was a bit wibbly wobbly and it didn't quite fit, so I had to do version 3. And version 3 is this one. And here I've extended it slightly and put another couple of locking dowels in it, and this one actually is the final version, and I've printed this out in ABS rather than in PLA because it's a lot harder. So that's where we're at with that. So I'm going to go and test it now and we'll see how it works. More later. And as if by magic, it's done. I couldn't believe how easy it actually was. And considering I've tried everything to get this damn braid inside that red fitting. And it's exactly what you need. You need a little funnel to guide the braid into the hole, and then it all just happens. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and do one live for you. Well, it's not going to be quite live. I'm going to have to do it in several sections, but I'll tape up another piece, cut another end, and use the tool again, and we'll see how it goes together. All right, see you in a minute. So here I've got the hose. I've wrapped loads and loads of masking tape around it, probably 10 thicknesses of masking tape around it, as tight as I can get it. And so now I'm going to use the trusty Dremel and try and chop through the centre part here to make a nice end. And there we are. That's about as tight as you can get it. When you take the tape off, it's going to fluff out a little bit, but hopefully not too much. There we go. That's the best you can get, really, doing it this way, I've found. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to load up the fitting into my little gadget, and we'll resume. So now I've got the part, the red part of the connector inside my little gadget. It's secured into the vise. Here I've got my braided hose, and I need to turn the hose anti-clockwise. So instead of doing that, I'm going to rotate this vise clockwise. Here we go. There we go, it's gone tight. Now if we look in there, I don't know whether you can see this, turn it round a little bit, but the pipe, you can see the rubber pipe is right up against the lip in there, and it looks like a perfect fit. So the next part is to insert the blue section, and this has got a normal clockwise thread on it, and that pushes into the center of the rubber tube and then causes the rubber tube to swell as it goes in. And I'll have to get spanner on this to do it up fully, so I'll do that and then return. And hey presto, one completed end. And that's the only way I've found of actually doing that so far. If anybody wants the file to be able to print one of these out, it's no problem. Send me an email and I'll send you the file. I've only got it in, I think it's 3MF format at the moment, but if you want it in a different format, let me know. I've got to do a different sized one for the AN6 connectors, because obviously they're bigger. So I'm pretty chuffed with that. It looked almost impossible to do. It's taken a little bit of research on the internet to find the solution, and a little bit of tinkering on the computer. I've actually got here the design on the computer, just out of interest, if anybody's interested in anything like that. If my computer will come back to life. There it goes. There's the part. It's just one part, and you put two identical pieces together in order to make the tool. But you can see the area that the connector sits in. I haven't bothered to make it a hexagonal thing. It only clamps on two flat faces, but because I stick it in the vise and clamp it across those two flat faces, it doesn't rotate. And there you can see the funnel for the braid to go down into. Turn it round a bit. There we go. You can see the sort of 3D-ishness of it. Anyway, interesting. So I've now done 3 out of 4 AN4 ends, and I've got the 2 AN6 ends to do. So I'll busy away and do that. And as a slight interlude, there's a little extra piece on the end of this video of what happened earlier with the kit car. So until I see you next time, more later. So I was going to go in the garage and work on the engine whilst I'm waiting for the parts for the electrical system to arrive, but fate intervened. And as some of you know, about 15 years ago I built a car. It's a kit car, a British JBA Falcon, and based on a Ford Sierra underneath, and I stuck a 3-litre V6 engine in it, and took it to track days and raced it around circuits in the UK and in France. For a few years, and nowadays I just use it as a Sunday car when the sun comes out, and sometimes we go away in it for a little adventure now and again. But the time has come for it to have its once every 5 years inspection by the government inspection, the equivalent of a UK MOT. It's called a CT, a control technique in France, and of course I uncovered it, took it out for a sort of test drive just to make sure everything was okay, and no, it's not okay. The CT is booked in for tomorrow, and the front left disc brake is jammed, seized. The piston has seized itself, and so when you're driving along the road, it's trying to pull to the right because it's partially on, and when you put your foot on the brake, it pulls violently to the left because it doesn't work, and the left-hand brake is working perfectly. So I need to sort this out in the next few hours, in between the rain showers here. The sun's come out and it's a glorious afternoon at the moment, but we are forecast for more rain in not too long a time, and I've got it in bits and it looks a bit like this. So there's the front disc brake, and the caliper is sitting under here, and that is the offending piston, which is pretty solid. It doesn't want to move, and somehow I need to get it moving to the point where it will pass the test tomorrow. I don't really want to take it out. I don't want to disconnect any of the hydraulic cables, because then I'd have to drain and bleed the system, and that would be a pain in the arse. So I brought the to get it all apart, I brought the very portable air compressor out with me, and got the air ratchet on there, and got it jacked up in the air and working on it. Hopefully it'll be running again by tomorrow lunchtime. Anyway, that's what I'm up to at the moment. Not building any airplane, more later. Well, after struggling with the brakes, I did actually get them moving and put it all back on the car again. Took it down the road. It was better, but it still shot to the left every time I put my foot on the brake. And actually, when I got back, I looked at the two front wheels and they weren't actually pointing in exactly the same direction, which is probably a sign that there could be something wrong. So I've elected, as I don't have a decent set of ramps to get the thing up in the air, so I can get underneath it and have a look at all four corners at the same time, I'm going to take it down to the trusty mechanic down the road, JP, and I'm going to let him have a go. I'll probably do the work once he's worked out what's wrong with it myself, but I need his help to diagnose why it's suddenly gone a bit squiffy. I would think that one of the bushes in the front suspension has disintegrated. It's a bizarre suspension system, partly Ford and partly bespoke JBA. So getting the parts is going to be interesting because JBA haven't really existed since 2005. Anyway, that's my problem, not yours, and I'll see you soon. More later.